Get ready. What's up, everybody? Marco Cardavox Academy here, and today we are doing a heavily requested band, finally. This is Opeth, Ghost of Perdition. This band gets talked about a lot in our Discord channel with our Patreon, and it also just gets talked about in our comments as well. Now, a couple things about this. I am a big metalhead, okay? I'm a metal vocal coach. I'm in 3 bands, Kardashev, Neverbreath, and Viremia. And if I sat here and told you this was a first-time reaction, y'all would know I'm lying. So this is going to be heavy on the analysis. Now, I can't listen to this song and not jam out because Opeth is one of my favorite bands of all time, but very heavy on analysis, and I just wanted to be honest with you about that. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you have fun. But let's talk about Ghost of Perdition. We're going with the Roundhouse tapes version because I feel like this is a very strong era of Opeth. So here we go.
This one is called Ghost of Perdition. Ghost of Perdition, lingering time. Ghost of Perdition, backstrap of the devil, control now. Vision face above the light. Ghost of Perdition, vacation.
Okay, so a lot of people talk about Mikael Åkerfeldt's vocals, and they're heavily contested. A lot of people will say they're 100% Fry. They're 100% Fry. A lot of people will say no, it's really false chord. And I think that there are a couple important things to talk about here. Number one, his vocals have changed a lot over the era, right? The other version of this, I can't remember where it is, but it's like very, very blue. The shots are very, very blue. The Charismatic Voice did this song and did that version. He sounds a lot more grunty and false chord to me in that video. In this video, honestly, it kind of sounds like it could go either way. You know, sometimes that's the case, right? He definitely has like that clack that you get in a false chord sound, but he's got a little bit more tightness that you would normally hear in a Fry. And generally speaking, Fry vocals can be held out longer than false chord. Now, with proper production, vocal production, not audio production, you can hold a false chord vocal for a pretty long time, right? You can go for a while, but a normal false chord builds on this, and then we can sort of tighten it up. It's not what it sounds like here, but you hear that very distinct clacky sound that I have in my tone, right? Now, his vocal has a little bit of that tighter, little tighter, more traditional Fry sound. But even when I'm doing it right there, I'm utilizing my false chords to add a little bit of compression. It's not the distortion generator, and that's a very important thing to think about. And it's part of the reason why, as starting points, false chord and Fry are very useful terms, but I think long term, they lose a little bit of oomph because a lot of more developed vocals will use both things kind of combined. But he has a little bit of both. He's got kind of like that
Ghost of Perdition
versus the
Ghost of Perdition.
Very distinct differences in the distortion. Just kind of keep that in mind as you listen to this. But one thing I love about his articulation is the way he chews and kind of like the vowels. He wouldn't say like
Ghost of Harvesters.
He does more of like a
Harvesters.
And I love that. Let's keep going though.
Devil cracked the earth, the shelf, told you was the one. The walk into the room, said you have to live before you die young.
I wonder if he does the harmony in the live version. Let's see.
Devil cracked the earth, the
Yeah.
shelf told you was the one. The hope into the room said you have to live before you die young.
So right there, it's really just kind of like singing at your speaking voice. A lot of people will talk about like speech level singing, and that's a lot less of my expertise. So I'm not going to just throw that term around because I may use it incorrectly. But sometimes when we sing, actually Billie Eilish does this a lot. Totally different type of music, but sometimes when you sing, you'll kind of have this sound right here. It's more my speaking voice. The hope, I can't remember the lyrics. The hope is that you have to live before you die young. That's a really great thing to do, actually, if you're going to open up and push and maybe belt a little bit later in the song, which if you've heard the song, we know that happens, right? So sometimes being a vocalist, it's kind of good to not put all your cards on the table right away, right? And that's very much what he's doing here. It's very much right here like this. It's just an even tone. He's got an even airflow, but it's definitely held back a little bit. That's the main takeaway. Don't feel like you have to constantly be 100%. You can play around. You can be full bore for part of the song and then lean back for another part. It's totally acceptable. Let's keep going. One thing Mikael Åkerfeldt is really, really good at and has continued to be good at, even though he doesn't really scream much at all anymore, at least the last time I checked, is that he understands that you don't have to fundamentally change the tone that you're doing in order to change the vocal, right? So he'll have his and he'll make it lower with his mouth and higher and wider with his mouth to more of a mid. Yay, first lift of the wow, wow. Right, he'll have some of that vibe going on, and he adds a lot of nuance without having to be overly acrobatic with his actual technique, and that's a really good thing to do as well. A lot of times when we have a technique, we're like, this technique is only good for this thing and this is all that it does, and it's like, nah, you can use these things in so many different ways with just subtle changes in the way that you resonate and articulate. This is a really cool section of singing here. We're gonna go back a little bit just so we can kind of hear the lead up into it. But this is a really cool section of singing that we could talk a lot about. Here we go.
Rode into the dark unaware, winding ever.
Yeah. Ooh. Yo, he changed his vowel. Listen to that. That's we're gonna talk about that. Also, like, how cool is it? How into it are these people in the crowd? I love it.
Winding ever.
Yeah, now I don't know if this is the reason he did this, but that's kind of a high section for someone of his voice type. When we get to that note, it can be a little bit difficult. So one thing you notice is he starts with full vocal fold closure. Rode into the dark on a whale. Right? Good vocal fold closure. Then he climbs, winding ever high. Ooh, even me, right? Oftentimes when we switch to a little bit of breathiness, we can control the note a little bit more. That's that difficulty when you get to that voice break, right? When you get to that section. For me, it's around F sharp, fourth octave. moving to a breathier voice can kind of help you control it. Now, this has totally happened to me. I'm just going to be transparent. We've played live, and there's a section where I'm tired. You know, maybe I didn't get enough sleep. Maybe I'm really nervous about the show, and I need to do a higher note, and just is a little hard for me to control. Switch it to an ooh. Oh, so much easier to handle. If you're not if you're okay with just changing the word, the way that it's pronounced, it's a good little survival technique. Obviously, you don't want to rely on it, but if you are exhausted in a show or you're nervous or anything, that's probably none of that's what's going on here. He might just be doing it for his own choices, because he's at this point they've played a million times. But that's the sort of thing you can do. Again, you know, rode into the dark on a whale, winding ever higher. A little bit easier to control. Anyways, just kind of think about that while we keep listening. Full closure. Breathy. Nice. I love when vocalists do that. They kind of change around the melody, doing that like really high head voicey. That is really nice, and I don't remember that being on the original version. Really, really cool. I love those subtle changes that sometimes you get in live versions. Get ready. Oh, I love this part. I love this part.
Darkness by her side, spoken past her pride. Dedicated hunter waits to pull asunder. Rose up to its call. In his arms she fall. Other light recede. Faithful servants free.
Yeah, that's more of that sort of spoken singing, you know, darkness by her side, spoken past her pride, dedicated hunter. That he articulates it different in the other one, but that's a really good way to start singing. Don't think of it as doing something crazy different with your voice. You know, one of the first things that I started doing, I grew up in kind of a musical family. Is we would just sing songs around the house, and I would more talk. I'd be happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, whatever, right? And you can actually get a really good handle on tone and intonation and pitch just doing that, right? And throw a little bit of work on there, throw a little bit of resonance, maybe like, you know, brighten it up, snarl a little bit here and there, and you get a really, not like, but more like you know, with the face and you get a lot of cool stuff that you can do pretty low effort. I mean, he sounds great here, but he's not like power belting, right? Which you would normally hear over like aggressive like sections like this. You can use your voice to contrast, and you don't have to work hard to sound good. Let's keep going. Bass. So that's a really cool example of what I was talking about earlier. He's not working harder for those notes. In fact, he's singing a lot of the same notes and he's in a lot of the same pitch range as he was before. But one thing he's doing, A, right here, adding a little bit of snarl in the front, right? So he's kind of, you can't, well, his hair is all in the way, but we can take the same note, hey, right there, hey. We can brighten it up by pulling our lips back, kind of moving our face out of the way, hey. And then if we do move up a little bit, you know, we get a lot of this cool contrast, right? So let's go back. I love the way he exits this section. And I was hoping he would do it the same way here as he did on the album, and he did. Let's check it out. Right here. I love that. Hey, just pure class. And he does it so well. Pure class. I love that. And by the way, when you're doing that, like those sorts of little flutters, hey, we're not like breathing out each one of those lines. We're not, hey, right? We're not necessarily doing that. This is all a function of maintaining an even airflow and learning how to lean on it easily by utilizing a pressurized reserve. Battery power is telling me that we're almost out. So we're going to do a harsh cut here, and then we're going to come back in a jiff. Okay, folks, and we're back. I charged my camera's battery, so we are good to go. I got right back to where we were. We had just talked about some really cool singing that Mikael Åkerfeldt had done. Let's just jump back into it. Let's get through the interruption. I'm going to move us about 8 seconds back, and then we're going to keep going. Let's do it. Interesting. He went for a high on that last hit. Usually on the album, it's more of a lower. It's a little bit more of a grunt. But here, remember how earlier in the video I was talking about how he holds his screams, and he does a lot with his mouth, his lips, his tongue to really add variation to what is one vocal style, and it sounds really cool. This is basically an exhibition of that, right? He's holding these notes out, he's opening up, he's closing up, he's shifting things around, and it sounds really cool. Feel free to play around with that. Anyways, we already talked about that, so I'm going to keep it going. But if ever you feel stuck in your scream, if like you're like, all I can do is right, try doing some simple exercises like saying wow, 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 right? Hold on to that and you can learn a lot of cool variation. Let's keep going. Every time.
To see your beloved son in this very was to know.
All right, so we'll listen to that cool guitar solo. But you could hear when Mikael was singing here, he was singing through a very closed mouth. Generally speaking, we want to open our mouths a little bit more. This is a softer section of the song. He also does a lot of storytelling, so that might have been a very intentional choice. But oftentimes when we're singing kind of low, To see, I'm in love, it's in despair, right? If our mouth is really, really closed, it kind of closes off our tone. To see, I'm in love, it's that open mouth is generally what we want to go more for. But then again, sometimes if we're storytelling, we don't do that. Like open mouth is really important. In Never Breath, I scream through grit teeth all the time. So who cares really? But just something to keep in mind. If you don't want that tone, open your mouth a little bit more. Let's keep going. Oh, perfect.
To see her beloved son in despair was to know.
Here's that solo. So that's actually a really cool thing. I never really paid attention to it before, but we have this like open, airy section, and then we have a section that's got some very, what's the word I'm looking for? Why am I spacing while I'm recording a video? We're gonna keep this. We're gonna keep this in. Like a very playful guitar solo. He's noodling around, but he's definitely not like hard shredding, right? So the whole section is very melodic. That's really what I'm trying to get to. It's a very melodic section. Then when Mikael Åkerfeldt comes in, he's a lot more punchy. He's in, out, in, out. It's kind of a nice contrast. I never really paid attention to it before, but it's a nice offset coming off of that section. I think if he had done long held out vocals, which clearly he didn't, it would have felt a little less impactful, right? And that's something that we can do. Like when we're thinking about what place we will sit, what role we will play as vocalists in a song, think of it as kind of like when you're cooking, right? If something is a little too acidic, maybe add a little like fat, like a little olive oil to the mix to kind of help that out. Something is a little too sweet, you add something to kind of counteract that. We can do the same thing too, very, very well. And then here he drops a little bit low. A lot of that is from relaxing, and opening up the space, down in the back of the throat. Now, a big thing, and it's funny, I was just talking, I literally, right before I filmed this second half, I was just talking to Elizabeth from the Charismatic Voice, and we were talking about the parallels, because she caught me pushing my tongue back down on my larynx while I was singing, and she was like, hey, don't stop that. And I was like, oh my God, I should know better, right? But we'll have a tendency when we do that, to pull the tongue back and push down on the larynx. So make sure that you are relaxing through this and opening versus shoving your tongue back and pushing your larynx down. Just something to think about. I'll go back so you can kind of hear what I'm talking about. Much more projected here. Much more projected. I really like how he's doing that. He's going very breathy. Ooh, ah, yeah, yeah. Switching from that ooh, ah, ooh, switching between those two. That's cool contrast as well. That's really nice. Never really paid attention to that the first time through. Nice. Okay, cool. Oh my god, that's so sad. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead. Let's close this down. Let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about the takeaways here. So first and foremost, a lot of your singing to sound good, you don't have to work so hard for, right? Mikael Åkerfeldt sings predominantly from a place of relaxation and low effort. Again, just like in the Left to Suffer video, and a couple other videos. When I say low effort, I don't mean that as a slur. I'm not like, you're not even trying, bro. I mean, like, we don't have to work so hard to just kind of la ya, right? Open up, relax, allow your voice out. It's a really great place to start. And then those screams, again, a lot of people try them different ways. I think Mikael Åkerfeldt's screams have changed a lot. I think we all agree on that. Throughout his career, but here in this space, I'm kind of hearing this weird combo of like the that we get in a false chord, but also the like that you might associate with a tighter traditional, whatever that means, fry scream. One way you can practice that, by the way, work on it later once you are a little bit more comfortable with taking like a false chord or a fry and really like supporting it properly. You can take this and you can sort of breathe on it. It can be easy. One thing that can help is anchoring your tongue on the back of your teeth to make sure you're not pulling back. Make sure, just with your false chords, just with your fries, it's not sitting down in your throat. There's a little gnat in here. Get out of here. You're not sitting down in your throat. You're up high. Your resonance is nice and forward. You're shifting forward, so you're not swallowing that distortion and feeling scratchiness and discomfort. But anyway, I could talk about Opeth for a long time. Thank you for hanging out with me. I greatly appreciate your time. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It helps so much. Again, check out our Patreon if you want to help us make these videos more frequently. We have a great Discord community. It's a lot of fun. And again, I do give one-on-one lessons if you're interested in that. Check out the email that is linked in the comments below. Check out our shirts on our store tab. Thinking about everything I'm supposed to say. I think that's it. As always, many thanks. Much love. I'm out.